Welcome aboard, Westy here. We're going to do a video on doing the CAN bus for the Voron 2.4R2. So this is going to be running the SB2209 board. We don't need that gland nut because there's nothing to clamp it to. There's a special fitting that gets printed off. It's got some brass inserts underneath, and you just install those with your brass insert installation soldering iron adapter, and that bolts down into place on the B drive on the right hand side at the rear, and that and then there's a little red Y-endstop that you can use, or if you're using sensorless homing. So that stainless steel tube that's actually supports the whole CAN bus umbilical cord. So basically it goes up, and then you put a little hook in it like that with a pair of pliers, bend it up and stick it in, and then pull it up like that. And that whole bracket actually sits down on top of the other bracket, which goes around the back of the pancake motor on the Voron clockwork extruder. So the problem with this is you can't get the those two cables through the gland without pulling it apart. So this is, when you tighten it up, it actually puts pressure on the gland, which stops the cable from pulling through. As I'm demonstrating here. So as you tighten it up, the gland pulls together and chokes it, and so it stops it from moving. So that little nut there, little button head 6mm 3x6 button head, sits on top of that bracket, and that bolts on top of the little remote L bracket that comes off the back of the foot that supports the tool board for the CAN bus. And the other end I had to grind this. I actually had to hand cut this out with a sharpie, because that bracket doesn't fit over the top of it, and I couldn't get it in. So I've actually taken it out so you can actually get that bracket in place. Cut off both sides. If I had actually had a working printer, I could have printed another part, which was, I think, about 3mm bigger. It needs to be to go over the top of it. So I just filed it out on both sides to get that to fit what we needed to do to make it a nice snug fit in there. So that bracket sits over the top of the USB little plug here, and that bolts down into this little heated insert there. So the bracket bolts on the back of the tool head. It's got a bolt that goes in from the back and a bolt that comes in from the front, and then it just comes out around the back. And it's quite a solid bracket as well, so it's really well designed. So I'm plug it in, and I'll stick the bracket on. Just tighten that into place so that it's all set up, ready to go. And we're basically going to work together and put some cable ties on and attach that cable to that stainless steel rod for a stabilization. It's kind of like a big springy U shape. So now this plug here, you've got to de-pin it to get the two cables out so that you can actually get the cable through the gland, because the cable itself won't pull through with that plug head on it. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So get a decent pair of industrial tweezers and in through the back you can actually push against a little tang and it slips out. Difficult to see because it's, you know, quite a small plug, so sometimes if you push it back in, you can put some force on the front of it, on the front of these pins, and actually push the tang down to push it out. As long as you pull the tang back, the barb back, so that it can actually click back and unlock in together. But it saves having to cut the cable and re-terminate it. So that's some nylon flexi. And I think just one thing, make sure you put the shrink tube to go on the other end of this on first. You'll see that I've put it on and then I'll pull it all off because I haven't got my sheathing for the heat shrink to go over the top of the flex. So just a trick for young players. That's what happens when you don't have instructions, I guess. Trial and error. So I'm just putting the tube on that, trying to get that little heat shrink over the top of that flexi, and that just didn't work. So there you see me trying to put the flexi back on again. Oh, and the heat shrink's right up on my tool head there. So a bit of patience, I guess, and something to learn as you go. So I'm feeding the other end of the heat shrink for that end. All the flexi it flays out, and it's quite hard to get it on. So eventually, if you persist, you'll get there. unclip it again to run the Y on this one. It's got a Y bracket here, and it's got, like, on the board, it's got a chip on it with Thermistor for the chamber temperature, so I need to put that in, and that just goes on here. This bolt, this here goes inside this, bolts onto here, and then it basically clips into here like so, like that. So yeah, I need to figure out, I think it might just use one of these tracks on the other. On the other side I've got a track that sits into here. I might have to get another couple in. Yeah, so anyway, so that's the brains end of putting the A and B motor cables in, and now all we've got to do is basically flip it on its side or head. And so that's that. Okay, I'll be making up a label for this. I'll be labeling both these cables. That's definitely for this motor here, so I'll come back to that. I'll put this on here for now, and I'll label those, and I'll label this one as well. So this is your B motor here, and this is your A motor over here. So I'll label those and at each end, so that we know what's going on. Welcome back. We're just going to do the Y-endstop, which has got a thermistor built into it for the cabinet temperature inside the machine. So there's a couple of parts here, there's a couple of printed parts, or a printed part you need. That's the last part there, and that goes on to the gland adapter that you print off as well for the CAN bus. So this actually attaches to the CAN bus, and here's the adapter here. So there's two little lugs here that actually connect into the CAN bus adapter for the gland adapter, and then this obviously is the device here that clicks through. So this here comes to this end, and it just pokes through the hole like so. But we're not using this, but it's got the thermistor built into it, which is just this little attach, just that little thing there. It's soldered into the board. So we'll just leave that on there for now. And you need some 4x6 millimeter button head screws. 4 of those. You need 2 for this part and 2 for screwing it in. So we'll just screw this in. Hey, just a note, if you guys are using the normal X and Y end stops, you won't have to modify any of the wiring at all. You just basically clip it in and carry on. I've got to do a couple of changes to the actual wiring just to use the thermistor. So your thermistor should work just with the normal wiring as it is, so don't need to touch it. If you're doing senseless homing, then follow this guide, okay? So yeah, so either don't touch it or change it. Just off the ground so that it's just get that started. Second one in. doesn't need to be 1,000,000 foot-pounds of torque, but it does need to. So yeah, these are. Oh yeah, no, they're fine. This one here is not doing too well. Maybe it's. Oh yeah, it must have been not quite lined up. So just nip that up. You don't need to do it any tighter than just nipping it up, basically. So this obviously is not going to work because we're using the sensorless homing. So now we need the other two screws there, and now we're going to screw it into place into the machine. So we're over at the B motor here, and here's the adapter here that's got the CAN bus and the gland, and this gland adapter that needs to be printed off. And see how it's got the two holes here, that's where that plate goes. So we'll just screw that in. Yep, that was a screw dropping. So we'll just get this in here. So these are again 3mm, 6mm long, 3mm M3 by 6 button heads. So you're going to need to put the brass inserts in as well, which is I've already done that in the previous step. And that's it. Ready to go. So now we need to basically run the cable. Go through the chain, which means you've got to disconnect all these again. So if you're doing this, leave the chain open, because you've got the CAN bus cable, you've got the A and the B motor cables, and you've got this end-stop to put in. So don't do this. Okay, cheers. We'll be back once we flip it up. I'll get these all opened for you. While we're on the topic of opening the clips, I will be possibly removing this and sliding it back. I'm not sure yet, we'll see how it goes. So these clips, they've got like a little lock sign on it, so basically you just need to get a screwdriver and flick it up underneath and pop them up like that. Careful not to stab yourself. They can be tricky little buggers to get into too. So you kind of like put it on an angle like that and then flick it up. Some of them can be tight as well. Found if you push on this side, you don't really have to do too much to get it up. They're not that hard. So I'll just carry on and do all of these. And we'll be back in a moment. Okay, that's all of those done. Now we need to get our cable. We'll see what we've got here. Okay, so the cable, it's quite long. It's probably 1.9 meters long. One end's got three wires coming out here. These three go into the connector at the bottom, which is just under there. And this other end here feeds through, and that goes through to your board. One plugs into the thermistor, the other one plugs into the Y-stop. So, but I think I need to change one of these over to get it to work, because we're not using the sensorless homing, but that's not going to stop us getting it in there anyway. So let's get that part done. At least. So we'll start, feed it up through from the bottom on the inside. It's got to go up through the hole in here, this little hole. We'll see if we can get this 3-pin plug through, because everything's starting to get a little bit tight in here. But that's going nice. We'll see how far we can get up. Not very far before it starts binding up on everything. So I'll grab my tweezers. I don't even know if anybody can see anything there. Maybe that's a bit better, I'm not sure. So I'm just going to grab this part. Come on. Okay, there we go. So we're just going to bring this up over through all of these gaps here in the chain. Bring it around. Get through all of them, make sure that you're through every single one, and you haven't got a loop on the outside of it at all. And you work down this side. Little piece, hopefully should be able to push that through and off. There we go. So let's come out this end here. And then I'll just flip this on its back. You can't see it, but actually actually, but there's a little, I can see it from the inside here. There's actually a little, well, you might be able to see it. Not sure if you can see that or not. You can just see my finger there. The plug's just up under there. So we're just going to plug that in. And I can't do that with all this stuff in the way. So that's in now, plugged in, and we've got the cables coming through here. They're going to route round all the way around the outside here and come in to this area here. So we'll get that into position. Gee, those clips keep falling out. They're useless. Come down through here, we'll take it on the outside. Okay, then that comes down through here, and then we'll bring it back to here somewhere. That's the wireless thing, needs to get plugged in. Bring it down through here, loop it back, give it enough slack so that it can come up to here somewhere, and we'll click it down through there. So that's pretty much got them ready. I'm going to put some labels on this, but there's something that we need to do, which I need to figure out. Because we're not plugging the Y-endstop in, I think we've got to swap one of these over. So I'll find out and we'll go through that process. Special thanks to BT123 from the Discord on the MPX Magic Phoenix Discord for posting this alteration to allow you to get just the thermistor working and not worry about the end stop. So thanks BT123, appreciate it, mate. So I'm just testing the continuity to make sure that the orientation of the pins match this one. So based on this drawing, on the left hand side you've got the Y-endstop, the two right and the middle one and the one at the top are the only two plugs you need, and then you just need to move over the one that goes out of plug 2 and the other end where it was in plug 4 back over to the other side. So you only need 2 plugs instead of 3. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you see, please comment below. If you've got any suggestions or information that you'd like to share, more than happy to check it out. So smash the like, hit the subscribe and ring the bell, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, Westy over and out. So at the end of the MPX guide, you should have something like this, like a tidy, very tidy installation. Okay, so always, if you're going to be playing with any of the electricals, always take the plug out and do not have it live. So we know that the board's dead now, but you still don't want to be playing with any of this because it's got big capacitors in here, and they hold full charge. So you need to discharge those if you're going to be playing with the electrics, especially on the AC side, this side here. But yeah, so it ends up being really tidy. This is what I was talking about with the 3 wires coming out from. So this here goes through that hole to the underside of the ceramic bed, the heater pad, and then these 3 here come through and feed each one of these 3 the single phase earth, positive and neutral, but they're all black, so you need to make sure that one's on each side and the middle one's earth. Okay, so yeah, no, it's come up very, very tidy. So don't put your covers on until you get all your wiring from all your motors in place. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you see, please comment below. If you've got any suggestions or information that you'd like to share, more than happy to check it out. So smash the like, hit the subscribe and ring the bell, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, Westy over and out.